All right, thanks for staying with us. And it's still Crossfire with Dakbo and Ishoma. While we were on that break, our guest came in, and we have on set with us Barrister Eze Eluche. Good morning, Barrister. Good to have you on Crossfire this morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me on your station.
All right. Quickly, let's, I don't know, I think it is a mixed feeling that the Vice President was in the United Kingdom to have a tete-a-tete, supposedly with the President. And the President has been out, I think today is the 64th or the 65th day, that the President has been out. He said that the President is in high spirit and that he's recuperating really very fast. And I wouldn't know if it is a joyful thing for us as a people, or we just have the Federal Executive Council in their very oneness trying to hide information away from, from Nigerians. I really don't know. Should Nigerians be excited about the information the Vice President brought, knowing fully well at the same time that, are very popular, I don't want to use some funny words to describe it, but the governor of Ekiti State, in the person of Ayodele Fayose, is saying that I have pictures to show that most likely the president is bedridden or is not recuperating, is in a bad state, is under a life support and all of that. He said a lot of things, and all of that. So I really don't know how we should take this. Should we take it with a pinch of salt?
Well, to start with, we all have elderly people in our families. So it's good that the Mr. President is in his 70s, late 70s, and is looking this good. But it is unfortunate and a national shame that Nigeria, with all its wealth, will have its president in a hospital somewhere for 2 months plus. And all we are hearing is messages that he's getting well, he's getting better. Why can't we replicate the hospital Mr. President is in the UK in Nigeria? Nigeria has the funds to replicate the Johns Hopkins Medical Center, which is one of the greatest hospitals in the world. We can have 36 of it, so that not just Mr. President, not just those who can afford to travel out, every Nigerian will have access to at least good health. So, it's a national shame that Mr. President is outside the country for treatment when we can afford. It's actually selfish. And then this whole joke of the Vice President having a 6-hour flight to the UK for a 1-hour meeting and then flying back, ridiculous. We are making governance like child's play. Why couldn't, for instance, a Skype meeting have been held? For that, you don't fly 12 hours for a 1-hour meeting, and that's not just to tell us, okay, he's getting better, he will soon come back. That is crap.
If they were confidential, if they were confidential things they needed to
yes, no matter
discuss.
how, there must be encrypted ways the government communicates with themselves. So I don't know. When you see the people in the executive arm of government celebrating, I went and I met him. Is he a myth? This is the people's president, for goodness sake. We should have access to him. What stops him from even appearing on TV? It's okay, I'm free. Look, we have 50-year-olds who are down bedridden. So, Mr. President, we thank God for your life. In your 70s, you are still up and about. Even if you are sick of a sickness, let us know.
And considering the fact that he was an old soldier anyway.
Yes, so nobody's wishing him dead. We hope he can even stay for the next 50 years. But for goodness sake, life, anybody can go at any time. But don't keep on insulting Nigeria by staying. Like, for instance, even the UK government has forgotten that Nigerian president is in their country. Because to them, it's like he's been there for 2 months.
And he's not making news anyway.
To add to that, the presidential jet has been parked in the UK for over 2 months now, paying demurrage charges. And then the other day, the presidential spokesman was telling us that the president, the military cannot abandon him there. Okay, they might as well take the Nigerian army, the Nigerian navy, and go and pack it with him there.
Yeah, but the special advisor to the president on publicity came out to say it is not true that the presidential jet has been docking at an airport in the United Kingdom. That's one. And then particularly the emphasis is that £5,000 is not paid daily on that, and that arguably speaking, that the president need to have a standby jet awaiting him in case of anything, in case he may need to be evacuated for one reason or the other.
They might as well have taken NNS Aradu, the flagship of the Navy, park it in London and in the UK ports, also take a battalion of the armed military. Man, that is crap. If he needs to move, he can be arranged at 6 hours, the VP was there and back. So it's just a shame. And we hope that this process, this entire episode will go as soon as possible. Let him come back and then let us continue with our lives.
Okay, still on story-making headlines, let's just quickly take a look. Do you think that it is high time for the PDP? Are we looking for a very strong opposition in 2019 now that the PDP seems to be putting their acts together, and to a very large extent we have a McAfee eventually emerging as the, taking over the leadership, of the PDP? And as against, Senator Alimadu Sharif's incumbency, up until 2 days ago. And is this an indication that the PDP is coming together again? Are we going to have a very good opposition in PDP come 2019 elections?
Well, one of what makes democracy tick and enjoyable to look at, or pleasurable, is a viable, vibrant opposition. Otherwise, you just have an autocracy. If it's just a one party that is ruling and there is no opposition, it's like an autocracy. Dictatorship is afoot. So for all Nigerians, it's actually good. Even those in governance, those in government, they should feel better that they have a stronger opposition party that will help to put them on their toes and make them work better. So I think it's good news that the courts eventually nailed the charade that has been going on in the PDP, which was self-inflicted in the first place, and we hope that...
Just like Nigeria's problems are self-inflicted.
So we just hope that the party itself learns. Because what caused these problems in the first place? You bring in somebody who's an in-law to the president because some governors wanted him to be chairman, you put him there, and then he messes up the whole party. So it's good that at last the courts have set the bells straight, and that we hope that the PDP learns, and that we hope that we from now begin to experience democracy.
No, but I need to understand this, because people have been celebrating since yesterday, especially on social media. But what, as an individual, as a lawyer, and someone who is pro-Nigeria, what are your expectations of any viable opposition? My expectations are that the PDP would have learned from their mistakes. They would have learned, and then they will offer something far better. Because what better? We're talking about the PDP that has been in governance for the past 16 years. And then they contributed a great deal to bringing Nigeria to where it is today. So I really do not understand, because as it is right now, Nigerians are pretty fed up of the PDP and the APC. And there's someone looking for solace in another party. So I don't know how much of opposition they are going to bring. But the reality is this: if there is so much celebration out there, that should give you a pointer to how... Celebration, probably because they are supporters. Exactly. Probably because they're supporters. Well, I agree. Because I know there are still, there's still a lot of internal issues to deal with. Yes. We're talking about having to start an election process anytime now. They need to have a convention where they have flag bearers, party flag bearers. They need to probably be able to narrow down to somebody as soon as possible who is going to represent them in the next coming presidential elections. But I think what Nigerians should do is not just to celebrate on social media on the streets. Since there are now two parties, let us get involved with these parties. Get inside them. We cannot be on the sidelines always criticizing. But then the other political parties. Good. You said two. Yes. The other political parties. Basically, without having to canvass. Yes, there are two. In the United States Kingdom, it's always two and then 1,000,001. Good. So, get involved with them. If you don't like them, get involved in the process. You sound like you're canvassing for the get involved with the political parties. That's what I mean. With the political process. That's what I mean. I hope, I hope Barrister, LJ is not biased towards the PDP. But, he's got a right to actually belong to a political party. When I say get involved with them, both the PDP and the APC. Okay, and the other parties. Good. All right, let's quickly go on today, and I quickly will give us a build-up. Who is winning? Who actually is winning? Politics or policy? That's what we're looking at on the show today. Now, let me give you a build-up just, for the sake of our conversation. Reps, a few days ago, gave the vice president 1 week ultimatum
to swear in ministers, designate. Now, this call was because of two people, Kogi and Gombe State. That's Professor Stephen Ocheni and Suleiman Hassan of Gombe State. Both were confirmed on the 5th of May, 2017, to replace, the missing ministers.
Yes.
I mean, they passed on to glory, and one passed on to glory, and the other one, stepped aside. Now, another thing is, Magu stays. That's what the presidency is still saying. The presidency is insisting that nothing is going to happen. We are keeping Ibrahim Magu as the, substantive chairman of the EFCC. Whether the Senate or the National Assembly has rejected him twice or not. Now, restructuring. I wouldn't know what exactly people are agitating for. If we have good governance,
yes,
are we going to just forgo restructuring? Is it because we don't have good governance, that is why restructuring is coming up? Or restructuring is just the way that we should go? Now, another very important thing to think about is that, do you think good governance will eventually douse down the tension of restructuring across, all the geopolitical zone?
Yeah.
Now, on the 5th of May, we also realized that the president has been out. We said that, based on the visit of the vice president and so many other issues and all of that. And which seems not to be seeing any remarkable visible change in the economy. And so I really wouldn't know where we are going, considering the politics that is being played and the policy formation and execution of the Buhari-led government. So let's just, it's one versus the other.
Yeah.
Politics versus policies. Who is winning here?
Now, is there really any distinction between policy and politics? Because both of them go together. So, we have to be practical and realistic. Policies come to emanate from politics. Politics is the views of the people, the populace, and your intention to accede or grant their objectives or their yearnings. So I don't see much of a distinction between policy and politics. But rather, what I feel is we are having a National Assembly that is beginning to assert itself. Like I've said repeatedly, the major difference between military regimes or juntas and democracy is a viable National Assembly. Not the individuals, but the institution of a National Assembly that has the powers to say, okay, this is what we want, this is what the constituency wants, and government, the executive, must put it in. Let us not forget that the only person or the only two people in the executive arm of government that were elected is the president and his vice. Now, in the National Assembly, each of the members of the National Assembly was elected. So when you have a situation whereby ministers who were appointed begin to exchange words, not even with individual members of the National Assembly, but with the entire institution of the National Assembly, then something is definitely wrong. And the National Assembly is entitled to call such appointed people to order, because they have no mandate. Their mandate was just that they were appointed.
Okay.
Yes, and that is what we have to correct in this country. Now, on the issue of Magu, which you pointed out, the move by the Senate was wonderful. The acting president had said there is no need for confirmation that Magu can continue in office. Yeah. Then a week later, he now brought letters to the National Assembly that they should confirm some officers. Are you kidding me? Or are you kidding National Assembly? They told him to go to hell with his appointment.
No, but is that enough for them to abdicate their primary responsibility because of one instance?
No, it is policy and politics coming together now.
Now, but if one is played well above the other, if there is a balance between politics and policy formation and execution, then we have a balanced country.
No,
but when politics seems to be playing much higher than the primary responsibilities of government, then we have a very major problem.
No, we are passing through a teaching process. They had given the vice president like a yellow card, and they actually suggested that he could be impeached if he continues to disregard the Senate orders or Senate resolutions. So what they did was, and the vice president got jittery because he had to now call for the Senate president to come and sit down and discuss. You don't call 400 and something parliamentarians, you call them jokers
But do you think
Yes.
the Parliament, the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, they're overstepping their bounds in terms of their responsibilities?
No, they are not. I mean,
And the way, and then when you look at the approach,
Yes.
you know, the position they take,
Yes.
almost every time there's something coming from the presidency.
Yes.
It shows a lot of
Animosity.
as if yes,
No,
a lot of
Personal
animosity.
grievance.
I don't think so.
We can also try and break this down. If you recall the face-off between one of the senators and then the Minister for Works, Power Works and Housing. I mean, if you recall, you know, some of the altercations there.
No, there was
which
no face-off.
Of course, there was a face-off.
No, let me tell you. It was not
there was a face-off.
No, it was not between the minister and one.
And
the minister
if you
had
look at
said
that,
the entire
it's the entire National Assembly.
had a basic knowledge, lacked basic knowledge, had stark knowledge of the budgetary process.
Is that a lie?
No, good. That was an a horrendous statement,
But-
which should have been made to
But
pay.
did he lie?
He
No.
lied.
He
Oh,
lied.
how?
Of course.
You think all of them
Nigerians
does?
how?
No. He said
You
it-
think we
no.
have an encompassing
No.
National
Exactly.
Assembly? They know
If-
everything in the Nigerian
No,
Constitution.
He's- you know,
They-
look,
okay.
they are basics.
Okay.
He said the National Assembly had stark knowledge of the budgetary process. He didn't say Senator A or House Member A. He said the National Assembly. So on that basis, he is totally wrong. You cannot castigate the entire institution, for goodness sake.
Okay.
I mean, that has always been my point.
No,
And
but a
look,
situation where the Senate is holding the Nigerian people to ransom in terms of making amendments, additions,
Insertions, subtractions.
and then
Now-
fighting
now-
and
now,
castigating
maybe
on
everything
the
under the word
issue
budget.
of
You
contracts.
you now begin to ask who understands the budgetary process. Is it the Senate, or the minister?
The
Because
minister should.
the minister does not understand it because
He should, because
No.
he is the one. He got values and figures from the ministry
Look,
he's presiding over.
do you know
and
it's-
those are the inputs he has in the old
now
budget process.
let me tell you one thing that happened yesterday in the Senate. The Senate has started sounding the alarm bell that by now, by July, they should have received inputs. What would the budget for 2018 will be from the various MDAs and ministries? And the floor of the Senate, it was announced. They will not do that till December.
That of 2017
They
is
have
still
until
on.
No, no,
yes,
no, no,
it's
no,
not,
no, no.
it is
We-
not even
Now,
being.
let us be
Exactly.
serious.
It's just been.
Let-
It's
no,
just becoming a bill.
Look,
it's just being passed into
the
law.
executive will wait until December to bring a document to the National Assembly and expect them to pass it in December. They are kidding. It's when you bring it in July, then they begin to discuss and say, okay, my people who are represented in the Senate insist on having this or this. Then you now say, okay, this is how much is available. We cannot have it now. We will have this. You begin to negotiate so that by the time you bring in the final proposal, within 2 or 3 weeks can be passed. But you don't just surprise the National Assembly with a document that you concocted. And
No, can't you see politics
No,
being
not-
played out
no,
here?
Dapo, Dapo.
No, I
it's
mean,
one.
can't you see politics being played out here?
Now, let us realize that the National Assembly has people from all parties. So when I'm defending the National Assembly, that is the democracy we're talking about. The executive is just one party that has one agenda. So for goodness sake, Nigerians should focus to learn to uplift the National Assembly. It is the only place where you and I can go and carry placards and demonstrate and walk into the place
Sir.
and demonstrate. If you try that with Aso Rock, they will shoot you.
Sir,
If
sir,
you
is
want to
it the
demonstrate,
business?
if you want to demonstrate towards the president's villa, you will see gun-toting soldiers and they will shoot.
Is
But
it-
our
I
people,
need you
the
to-
National Assembly is where you can actually go in.
You mean they can shoot?
They have shot. So the National
in a
Assembly.
democracy.
Oh,
In a democracy. But I need you to
Yes.
tell Nigerians this.
Yes.
Is it the legislative's duty and responsibility to tell the executive, I need this for my constituency
Yes.
in the budget?
Yes.
Look at the Constitution.
Yeah.
That is not their
No, no, no.
responsibility.
Their responsibility-
And that is part of the face-off. Now we're seeing the legislative arm of government going outside their duties, encroaching into other jurisdictions,
Is it-
which is making them have face-offs,
No, now let us know what is encroaching.
policies, and politics.
The budget is not the budget of the executive. It's the budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Correct.
Which means the executive brings proposals. And then the members of the House and the Senate already have ideas their people, their constituencies want to be voted and implemented. So it cannot just be that you want to build a refinery, the executive wants to build a refinery, and the constituents want water. So which one has to? Do you want to build your refinery and there's no water?
But then over time, we have seen some of those constituency projects in quotes.
Now, the point is even, I mean, they
were
are
pledged.
representative.
They were pledged by the members of the legislative themselves. Now, you having to pledge and say, okay, when I get there, I will give you this, I will give you that.
Yes.
Now, that is a personal contract entered with the people.
Yes.
So the individual should bear the cost of fixing those things
I'm not
and not holding the country to ransom.
I'm not for them bearing the cost. But this is the point. We have the federal government.
Yes.
We have the legislative arm of government.
Yes.
We have the state government.
Yes.
Now, each member of the National Assembly were elected on state-by-state basis.
Good.
Now, the National Assembly are all representation of the country in all.
Good.
But state-wise.
Yes.
Based on state.
Not even state-wise, constituency-wise.
Yeah, constituency-wise.
Yes.
Now, don't you think that their focus should be on the activities of the state government, while the activity of the national government from ministry point of view, the Ministry of Works and Housing, the Ministry of Power, the Ministry of, putting a budget in place to do federal government conceived projects.
No, you're having it wrong.
At
the state level, we also have State House of Assembly, who now make sure that the state executives implement projects.
Okay.
So the National Assembly...
So that means there is a dual representation.
Of course.
Because if you are representing your constituency state-wise with the function of the state assemblies, who you can actually pass down your constituency agenda to and expect them to do it.
Exactly.
Why are you padding the budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Now that is where you have to talk of restructuring. Now the structure of the country makes it inevitable that process must be so. Because the bulk of the federation funds, in fact, virtually everything comes to the federal government first.
And then disbursements are made to the state,
and
no accountability from the state.
Exactly.
And
then the state government, they are not funding the local government.
Exactly.
And so every constituency will suffer.
Exactly.
So if...
Let us take it easy.
Okay.
We are talking of two different things now. The state governments are responsible. I mean, the State House of Assembly will ensure that state governments comply with state laws.
Okay.
But the National Assembly is to ensure that government complies with federal laws.
Yes.
So you cannot say that the Federal National Assembly should also focus on the state. That means we are talking of having a dictator at the top and then he do whatever he thinks it can do for the country.
No.
So
not a dictator at the top, but synergy.
Now, the whole thing is checks and balances. The National Assembly's role is to ensure that things are equitably done at the national level. That is why they always have to put the executive on their toes for national interest. But I talked of restructuring. Nigeria has a very awkward situation where the entirety of national assets gets to the federal government, who now shares.
Yes.
That makes people at the local level, state level, very, very unproductive, because they're just every month they're waiting for the national cake to share.
How come the state government is not feeding the federal government back with their internally generated revenue?
No.
Anyway, we'll talk more about this. We'll quickly go on a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this. We'll be right back after now. All right, thanks for staying with us. It's still Crossfire with Dakwani Shoma. And we are back. We're still discussing who is winning, politics or policies. I mean, when government is forming policies, I mean, we know that there is good governance and they execute it and then the people are happy and then there is development in all areas, of our nation. But as we speak, we hear a lot of things we could not even see government saying, well, this dam is being completed and is going to generate this amount of electricity to be added to the national grid. We are not saying this road is completed and we are going to be launching it at so time. We could not even get any information to saying that, okay, there are light rails in this particular state to ease the congestion on our roads and all of that. But we are fight between the National Assembly and the presidency. If it is not between the National Assembly and the presidency, it's between the legislative which is the National Assembly, and the judiciary. And so we just hear politics every day. We can't see or hear anything positive that is moving this nation forward. We have Barrister Eze Eloche in the studio to help us, throw more light on this. Before we went on that break,
Yes.
it's becoming really very clear that maybe restructuring is going to help. One, I think we need one National Assembly. I am beginning to think that part of the restructuring that we should have
one National Assembly.
I mean, we should have only one
chamber.
Chamber.
Okay.
We should have only one chamber. That our National Assembly should be a one-chamber National Assembly. That's one. Two, we're talking about state policing. We're talking about the executive governor of a state not having absolute control over the security apparatus in the state, and he actually is supposedly to be the chief of staff, for that particular state, the security, chief of staff, and all of that. That's two. We're talking about the relationship between the National Assembly and the State Assembly as it has to do with governance or activities of a particular state. Knowing fully, when we talk about Nigeria, we're talking about 36 states plus the federal capital, 37 of them. What is the relationship between the National and the State Assembly when it comes to governance or project execution, as it were?
The problem with Nigeria is the structure. Simple. I mean, basically, it's the structure. That's why we keep on talking of restructure this country.
Structure of the people.
The structure. Now, where did we go wrong? Look at the early 60s, when we had regional governments that controlled 100% the assets in their localities and then paid a token as tax to the federal government for foreign affairs and security. What did we have? What was the country like then?
Don't you think it's because of the caliber of persons we also had? I mean, if they were the caliber we have today.
What I'm saying is,
that
then,
have happened.
What did we have? We had the Southeast develop cashew plantations,
exactly,
rubber palm plantations. We had ground pyramids in the north, and we had cocoa and other education in the south. The
geopolitical zones.
Good.
I mean,
and everybody was happy. But then, soon after, during the war, we had this very warped federal structure that deprived the states of everything. The federal government owns every asset beneath the soil. That's what the laws of Nigeria say now.
But they say there's always a need for the federal government to sign derivation with states that are producing.
That is the fault in the structure. There is no basic for that. Everything, you should own your land. Then you contribute to the federation. That's what happens in America. That's what happens in Britain. That's what happens in every sane federal structure. But the only thing we have here, we have a structure that is doomed for failure. And then as long as we continue with it, we are not going to, we keep on talking of policy, politics, and all that crap because we're not going to move forward. We have to restructure this country. A situation whereby, now you talk of state police, for instance. Will you allow somebody like Governor El Rufai to be in charge of state police? When he was in opposition, this same character said that every Fulani killed was a debt owed that must be repaid. So what will he do if he was in charge of policing in Kaduna State? Those in Zangon Katab, the people in certain area will be wiped out. So we still need a semblance of federal order. Or when you have a crazy man who is somewhere as a state governor and you say he should have 100% control of the security, no way. We need to have institutions. We still need a federal government if we have to remain.
Yeah, but even if there's state policing,
yes,
and they report to him absolutely, then there's every possibility that he can still misuse power.
He will, but then we have to have institutions in place. Like in the States, for instance, let me give it in America, universities have police. Yeah. Local governments have police. But if you step out of bounds, there's always a federal police.
A high authority.
Yes, a high authority that can always penalize you. There are police, but there is even the state police, and then there's the federal police, and then there's the FBI and the other. Yes, so that's what we need in this country. There will not be absolute control of the state police by the state governor. We will still need a higher authority that will oversee policing all over the country.
Okay.
But we have to restructure this country because otherwise we will keep on talking and perambulating in circles.
Now you mentioned something pretty good,
yeah,
but then let's also look at the issue with the problem, the face-off between the state government and then the local government. Now, we have restructuring. Automatically, the bulk of the country, resource control devolves to the state.
Yeah.
And even without restructuring, we see across almost the 36 states where the state government has become a lord and master over the local government, without them which the local government cannot survive. What do you think will happen when we have restructuring?
Or do you
literally
believe in
mean-
local government autonomy?
So how do you think we can marry
believe
that?
in local government autonomy?
The thing is, those who are ruling over Nigeria, and because they're not leading, they are ruling, mostly are criminals.
You mean at the state level too?
At the state and the federal levels.
Your opinion?
Yes, my opinion. And then facts are there to buttress it. Like all the state governors, for instance, that just pocket the entire local government subventions. There are laws that can checkmate them and put them in jail. But what do we see? We see that some of them who have left office
Look
10,
away with
10,
impunity.
15 years ago,
Yeah.
the cases are still rolling and perambulating in courts, and there's endless. There are cases against Orji Zokalo, cases against Peter Odili, but these cases will never see the light of day. But look at the other side of the world where they understand what democracy is and responsibility is. The former president of Brazil just got a 9-year sentence. Yeah. This former president of South Korea is in jail. Several Israeli prime ministers have gone to jail. But in Nigeria, once you have ruled once, you can purchase immunity. So the issue is not that the states' governments are taking over the revenue, the monies of the local government. It's that there is nobody penalizing these rascals when they leave office. And until we begin to pollinize these criminals, because they're criminal elements, until we begin to pollinize them and put them in jail where they belong.
That's why
Yes.
I'm beginning to think. Tomorrow,
Yes.
we possibly will be looking good governance and restructuring.
Yes.
Which one should we go for? Because this one
Yes.
is bad governance.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if you think restructuring is going to correct it or stop it. I mean, we can talk about it.
Yes.
But the truth is, I am of the opinion that if there is good governance, people will not agitate for restructuring.
Okay.
Because, I mean, from the example you cited about state government, the relationship of state government and local government, up until now, I think this has nothing to do with restructuring, really and truly.
Agreed. I don't like to quote him, but that's because you can even quote from the devil when necessary. Obasanjo once made a comment when he was president that even if you brought Jesus Christ to come and rule over Nigeria, he will not succeed. And because of the structure of the country. Even
The structure
or
of the people
no,
also.
No, the
you
structure.
work
Like for
with.
instance, when I say the structure is this, you have billions lying fallow at the federal level. Even a saint will be tempted to steal.
Take something.
Because it's not accountable to anybody.
The system is cancerous.
No matter
all you need to do is to get in there, and then you are infected.
But then the people make up the system.
No, but the people
make up
what are
the
you going to do?
structure.
Even if the entire National Assembly, we're talking of National Assembly and governors, as if that is where this corruption is. No. You'll be shocked that level 2, 3 officers in the civil service are millionaires.
Of course.
The procurement process is rigged. The salary payment process, every day we keep on hearing that 10,000, 20,000 ghost workers have been seen in the system, but nobody is prosecuted. Which means that the person who is announcing that he has seen 20,000 ghost workers only intends to now replace the person who was collecting their salaries with his own person. Otherwise, you will have prosecuted so the system is rigged. It's not just even if you bring an angel to rule Nigeria with its present structure, you're not going to make any headway. You have to restructure the country. A situation whereby, for instance, the former Kano state, Jigawa and Kano, have more members in the House of Reps than the entire Southeast. You cannot, no matter who you are, like those who are even talking about having an Igbo president, no matter what good ideas you come up with, it's not going to sail through. That's why, for instance, the bill for a Northeast Development Commission passed through the Senate in one day.
Yes.
And the bill for a Southeast Development Commission was thrown out because the structure of the country is
but it is obvious.
We can defend that.
It is obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody can defend that.
the northern part of Nigeria is ravaged.
Really?
You know,
terrorism.
it is obvious.
And then what is the problem in the south?
Mind you,
I am not a
Mind you, Boko Haram has been
problem.
Yeah,
technically.
Technically. Now, this is the question I want to ask.
Yes.
We are saying, let us restructure.
Yes.
Part of the condition of a true restructuring or of a working or an ideal restructuring is to empower the state and then you can now give back to the central. You can now give back to the federal government. You know, and all of that. Now, the reverse is the current state that we're in. Federal government is giving to state government. No accountability. The life is being snuffed out of the local government, even though they receive on their behalf. Governors are not being queried by anybody. By anybody. For example, in Lagos State, a paper is being taken to the State House of Assembly. and it flies.
Yes.
Governor does not even defend figures.
Yes.
They just look at it and get it approved and it passed into law.
Yes.
And then that is across a lot of other states in Nigeria.
Yes.
Now, if you now leave them to sit on the resources
Who are
as
you
we
to
speak,
question them?
oh my word.
Now, you know the difference is this.
Yes.
Your local government councillor has about maybe 30 words. You know him.
Yes.
You can catch him. He owes allegiance to you.
Are you saying that more powers? But if we restructure that way, are you saying more powers will be given to the local government?
Ideally, not in
not in this
one. The president of the Federal Republic who stays in Abuja owes nobody any allegiance in real terms. You can't see him. He's there. In fact, once he's there in office, the security details around him, you can't even come 100 meters close to him.
Okay.
But your councillor, you know where to get him.
Some of us know where to get our local government chairman, but how dare you go there?
No, you can. What I'm just saying is that
no, you can even go there for what?
When you bring governance,
what are you
they will tell you
do?
we have not been given money to do anything, and we know that.
Now, let us also agree. If we had good rulers, good governance also has a role to play in it. If, for instance, we had what I would call a benevolent dictator, in quotes, at the helm of affairs, the laws in Nigeria can still make you work this country well. But unfortunately, even the present president, for instance, when he came onto office, people thought, okay, he will use his experience and then move this country forward. But what did he do? The anti-corruption drive has been so partisan.
No,
health
issues didn't allow our
when his health was still okay.
Yeah.
His appointments were so skewed, so ethnically unbalanced. So from day one, it was like, and then he went about and was telling people that in an infamous comment he made in the U.S. at the U.S. Institute of Peace, where he was saying that he cannot be expected to give the same kind of consideration to those who gave him 5% of the votes as those who gave him 97% of the votes. That was the origin of the current crisis we're having in this country. Because what the people in the Southeast who gave him that 5% of the votes now said, okay, you think you can talk that nonsense and get away with it? It's not going to work with us. It's not going to, and from that day onwards, because even me personally, I'm from the Southeast. I was not in support of him when he became president, when he was contesting for presidency. But the moment he won the presidency, I wrote on my blog, okay, Mr. President, congratulations. We will now help you make this country better. Until he went to Washington and made that silly comment that he cannot be expected to treat 5% the same way he treated 97%. We said, okay, when you come back home, you will see, you meet us.
Okay.
And that is what has grounded this country.
Now you brought an interesting, side of view.
A real side
to this conversation.
Good.
Do you think really and truly the South is marginalized? Do you think that in the true sense of it, that the Southeast of Nigeria is marginalized?
Now, that word has been abused severally.
Okay.
So everybody can.
What do you think is the true picture in the Southeast?
Now, in the Southeast, for instance, the Southeast and South gets 9% of the power generated in Nigeria. The Southeast and South. The new railway lines, which are to be funded by the Chinese, were routed in such a way that it's avoided the Southeast in its entirety. The road network in the Southeast in fact, most federal roads have not even been touched effectively since the Civil War days. Anything you see in the Southeast is self-built by the people. And the resources come from the Southeast and South. So I'm trying to describe to you the situation, so I don't use a word that has been serially abused.
How do you put this blame?
You have a situation.
Okay, I agree with you that is the situation. How do you put this blame now on the federal government?
On the federal government?
Yes.
Good.
How does this blame get apportioned to the federal government?
Okay, let me use a town like in the Ogoni land, where oil comes from.
Oh, that is a classical.
Good.
We all know all the time in the South. I'm talking about the Southeast. I'm talking about the Southeast, where they have governors, where the local government supposedly should be functioning, where they have commissioners, where they have representation, whether we like it or not, in the federal government as ministers. And so how do you put this blame on the federal government marginalizing the Southeast?
It is back to the issue of structure.
Okay.
I'll give you two key examples.
Okay. We
had a case in Enugu State where herdsmen went and slaughtered some people in a particular village. The governor just was seen smiling the next day in Abuja, and all will be well until tomorrow. Nothing has happened. No prosecution. Nothing.
They did say in Kaduna.
No, I'm coming. Then in Imo State, you have a governor who has the Hausa language spoken as the lingua franca in the State House of Assembly. In the state government house. So you have people who are like in positions because the structure of the country does not allow for actual representation from the people from the grassroots to crop up.
But that's the problem of the state.
No, I'm not.
You can't put that blame on the federal government.
You're talking of governors. Yeah. When you have governors who are virtually appointed from Abuja to preside over state.
So they are not representing the people. They are representing the government.
We had, for instance, Anikede. Let me give you a classical example. Anikede Hakim, when he was the party he belonged to, was unknown. APP. Somebody else won an election, then they said, no, we need somebody who can. And then from nowhere, they just brought him.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, I mean, now
let him land on
you
his
made
thoughts.
you mentioned something.
Hold on, you will ask your question. I want him to let him land on his point.
You simply cannot just say the Southeast cannot. But they on their own, the people have worked very hard. You go to Onitsha, go to Enugu, go to Owerri, you see progress. And it's all self-built.
And then you have a state like Abia State.
Yes.
That have one time Odius or Kalu as the governor of the state.
Yes.
And the people of Abia State, up till today, accuse him of doing nothing.
Good.
You have another of his brother, Theodore Oji, who came into power. And Abba is still in the state in which it is.
Good.
Are they appointees of the government?
Most of them are.
Of the federal government.
Of course.
No. You made a statement. You made a statement that you have governors who are handpicked from Abuja.
Yes.
And I want to ask you,
yes.
Who was in office when Governor Rochas Okorocha served his first term? Was it the APC government or the PDP government?
It's the PDP government.
So, I mean, what do you mean?
No, but I mean, it doesn't say...
And across, but...
It's still an Abuja appointee. Yes.
From the PDP?
No.
Okay, well, let me also give this classical...
Wait.
He's a Buhari and he doesn't hide that.
Don't mistake Abuja appointee with APC.
Let me give this classical...
I'm talking of foreign imposition.
Let me give this classical example. You see Lagos State government. Lagos State government did everything it could. Of course, despite the fact that it did cost them a lot of money to equip, the judiciary in the state, even though that's a business of the federal government, but then they did everything they could to equip the judiciary.
Yes.
Now, Lagos State generates power, which it feeds to service the courthouses, to the hospitals and the other state infrastructures, and then the excess it feeds to the national grid. Why isn't anything instructive coming from leaders in the Southeast?
You have a child. You don't give it food. If I deprive it of food, give to another person, deprive it of clothes, give to another person, then after 10 years, that child is still malnourished. You say, why are you still malnourished? And this child is well-fed.
Okay.
For decades.
Isn't that the case everywhere?
And then in support of your argument,
isn't that the case
that Lagos State used to be the capital of this...
For decades, the oil companies have their headquarters in Lagos. The banks have their headquarters in Lagos.
Right.
They pay taxes to the Lagos government.
Lagos used to be the federal...
You're now accusing the Bayelsa governor or the Igbo governor that why is Lagos what it is?
Why can't I accuse the Bayelsa state governor? You also have a lot of oil companies there.
No,
that is minus one.
Another argument is that as industrious as the Southeast is, there is no port.
But you see,
even aside the port,
that there is no port.
The bottom line is this. Nigeria has to be restructured.
Okay.
Because this kind of debates will continue ad infinitum.
All right.
When you restructure it and I have access to my governor or to my local government chairman, then I will know how to handle that.
Okay.
But if it's in Abuja...
we have a restructured people...
All right.
And accountability.
This is how far we can go on Crossfire today. Very interesting. I mean, I love that. I wish that we had more time. I really want us to elucidate, more reasons why the Southeast of Nigeria feel that they are marginalized. Yeah. It's better for us to know all of these things, and then we can know if restructuring really and truly is the way to go, or we just need good governance. Thank you for staying with us today. We'll be back tomorrow with another very interesting episode of Crossfire. Do stay with us. Stay out of trouble. God bless Nigeria.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love am.